Hello and welcome to the 65th OctoPrint on Air. As always, I'm your host, Gina Heuske, aka Fusel, and welcome. As always, we're going to talk about what I've been up to and what will be next steps. And as I'm a bit under the weather, thanks to actually the weather, I'll try to just get into it right now. First of all, so what I've been up to. Ever since the last one of these, I pretty much did a full deep dive into 1.12.0 and the Moonraker plugin that I mentioned. So a ton of work has been done on the Altcom branch. I've started implementing the aforementioned Moonraker connector plugin and have used this implementation work basically to eat my own dog food in the shape of testing out the plugin interface that I added for the new connector stuff inside of OctoPrint that I am implementing in shape of the Altcom branch. And have been busy fixing whatever I forgot to implement or where the API didn't yet make much sense and such, thanks to working against that API to implement not only the existing serial connection, but also a new type of connection to the Moonraker API. And I'm happy to report that as of July 3rd, I am now able to print on my Kidi Q1 Pro that I have left on the stock firmware and the stock tech stack that has been on it. So that's some oldish Clipper, some oldish Moonraker, and OctoPrint can happily connect to it, can print on it, it can do full state monitoring, control all the access, set the temperature, send arbitrary commands, and so on. I'm also able to print both locally stored files within OctoPrint as well as files stored on the printer. I can also manage all of these files stored on the printer. I can pause and cancel prints, and even the G-code viewer works. So that was quite some big progress that I managed to do there, because I pretty much just focused on only that, and for the first 2 weeks or so of the past month, and that turned out to be really what I just needed to finally make some progress there. I've also implemented some, in my opinion, better user experience on canceling a print now. The thing is, so far with stock Clipper and Moonraker as it was on this printer that I have sitting next to me right now being very noisy, I hope you don't hear that. You basically had to cancel, had to hit the emergency stop button in order to cancel an ongoing print job, especially if it was currently in the process of heating up or homing or something, when you had noticed that you had missed something in the G-code or something, because otherwise you have to wait ages, and that is something that annoyed me greatly. I'm still kind of shocked that there is apparently absolutely no way to stop a running G-code on this tech stack. Especially not since that also seems to be the case for G-code macros, which can take a long while to be run through. But as far as I could see on the internet and on the forums and such, that is apparently an intentional design decision. So I decided to just work around that, at least in the case of canceling. So there is now an option within this plugin that will actually trigger an emergency stop and reconnect and restart the firmware right away, so that it feels like a normal canceling workflow. For me, that is just something that works way better than having to wait 30 seconds or minutes or something when I find out that something went wrong right at the start of the print. Your mileage may vary, which is why this will be optional. What's still left to do is I also want to add some custom controls automatically for all of the macros that are provided by the API. On the Moonraker side of things, the webcam integration is still manual. I want to look into if I can maybe somehow detect what kind of webcams the printer offers and see if I can provide these. And there are still some bugs obviously in there that I need to iron out, check all of the state transitions, make sure all events get triggered and such. But all in all, I have been able to finish some prints through this new connector plugin. And yeah, I just wanted to move you over here on my screen and actually show you this, that this is working now. So, I mean, you see the webcam here that I've configured manually, as I said, of the KDQ1 Pro that's sitting next to me. And if I now hit the home button, you will also see that the printhead is moving like it should. We have a terminal tab here that is showing the commands that are going over the connection. That is slightly different than it would be on a serial printer. I don't see everything that goes on in communication here, but at least everything that I send from OctoPrint, I will also get the responses back here. You can also see here on the left that there is plenty of files in here that are all stored on the printer, which you can see on this little SD card shape there. And I actually plan on looking into changing the UI of the files panel now that we can have more control over printer files as well, after all of the refactoring that went into the old COM layer, which now treats files stored on the printer and files stored locally as both as a storage, as an individual storage in the file manager properly. And so this finally makes sense to also rework this to have some kind of tabs up here so that you can switch between the printer files and the OctoPrint, the local files and such. And yeah, if I now go, for example, here into test and click my end-to-end test G-code file, which only basically contains a little M117 and a home, switch back to the control tab and print this, you will see that it will actually start printing. And then this behavior of the progress bar just now, that is still one of these bugs, but yeah, it works. And now that means that every single OctoPrint plugin that hooks into print events or print behavior or file management or something will also work with this printer, which is kind of nice. Something that does not work is anything that modifies the G-code on the fly yet, at least. I mean, I'm thinking about maybe implementing some kind of API that allows to change, like run the changes that usually would run during the print before the print is sent to the printer, because with this API that Moonraker offers, I'm not really able to print by spooling the lines, the G-code lines over to the printer. That is something that in theory I could do by sending line after line through the arbitrary G-code command interface, but that is something that performance-wise will surely not work at all and lead to really, really bad print results. So with this particular tech stack, the best approach will probably be to always upload a print file that I want to print, and that is actually also what just happened here, that I want to print to the printer first, run the print, and then be done with it. And for that, that also of course means that I cannot modify the print job on the fly as easily. So as I said, maybe I'll figure out still something, but for now this is not something that I see that easily possible unless we have something like pre-processing in there. But yeah, that would mean that plugins that currently depend on being able to change G-code on the fly would have to be adjusted to also allow to do that in a pre-processing pipeline. But at least progress. Something that also doesn't work due to this, by the way, yet, and probably won't at all, are the temperature offsets, because as OctoPrint will usually not be able to see the print unless it has just uploaded it. It cannot change the offsets of the temperature commands inside the print as easily as I could do that when talking to a serial printer. So basically, we have a bit of the disadvantages in place here that we have also when printing to a serial connection, but from the printer's SD card. The file is stored on the printer, while here we can actually download and inspect it. We cannot easily modify it while it is being printed. And yeah, so that is some stuff that you will need to keep at the back of your head. But temperature logging works, temperature setting works. As you saw, most of that also works. So huge step forward. Incredibly proud, I have to say, that I got this working so far. And yeah, I also tooted that immediately when I managed to do the first print job ever, which were a bunch of strap buckles that I have here that I printed through OctoPrint on the Moonraker enabled Clipper printer that I have here. So yeah, kind of nice. Okay, so that was mostly what I have been doing. As you can imagine, it was a ton of work, and it needed a lot of focus, and being able to actually do all of that was simply amazing. And I hope that I will get some more chances to do deep dives like that in the coming months as well to finalize this work. Because yeah, being able to just spend 1 or 2 weeks straight on one single thing means an incredible speed that I cannot do when I constantly have to switch between tasks all the time. So yeah, yet another case where I think I just, if work usually doesn't allow me that out of itself, then I just need to take that time and do runs like that more often, because yeah, it's just so much more, so much faster and so much more well working. Yeah. Okay, so what else happened? I was in Prague actually 2 weeks ago for a week for EuroPython. And as you can see here, I gave my first talk at a conference since before the pandemic, which was at a very high anxiety experience, which also wasn't helped by the fact that just like 10 minutes before my talk started, I tried to connect my laptop through to the projector. And the laptop refused to see the projector, even though 3 hours earlier during the tech check, it had seen it just fine on the first attempt. And so I tried some stuff and in the end had to reboot the whole system at this point 5 minutes before my talk. And that meant some very shaky hands and some very, very huge stress spikes, according to my watch. But I made it through. I got really great feedback. I should also add maybe what the topic of the talk was actually. So I talked about how to deal with toxic people. People, basically, the talk that I created to tell people that I have a punching bag in my office. Yeah, once more, I had the feeling that this is something that really should be talked about more often. How to deal with entitled, how to deal with frustrated people that you encounter in your open source maintainer life, or even just in your regular life. And yeah, I guess I will have to give this talk a bit more often still, so that it makes its rounds a bit more. There will also be a recording of that. That's going to be shared on the EuroPython YouTube channel. As far as I understood, they are currently thinking that those will be available sometimes around September or October. But yeah, all of the talks that were given at this event will be available, and I can only recommend that if you are into Python and if you did not make it to the conference in person, or you missed a bunch of really great talks like I did because I was busy speaking with people, you should give them a watch and take a look at everything that went on there, because it was a ton of stuff and a ton of really, really good talks. Personally, I met some old and some new friends. For example, Paolo, who I had met at PyCon Italia earlier this year already. But this time we managed to talk a bit more and also take some selfies, which last time we didn't. Let me quickly switch you back to me. Right. And I also saw some really, really great talks. Got a whole bunch of new ideas on how to improve my own use of Python in OctoPrint specifically and in general as well. Already started putting some of them into action, which might improve things here and there. Probably not very noticeable at first, but long term, I hope. So all in all, I have to say that once more, second time in a row for me, EuroPython was a really, really great event, and I'll also see that I can make it there next time, depending on where it will be and how my schedule will look around the time that it will be. Because it won't be in Prague again, as far as I understood, but somewhere else in Europe. And maybe I'll also give another talk again next year, even though it's always very, very anxiety inducing. And but with everything like that in life, it's important to do these things often so they don't become even worse for you from the anxiety level. Yeah. And that already has me at the end of what I have been up to. Short segment, I know, because it was only 2 things, but one of these 2 things, the work on the Altcom layer, the Altcom branch and the Moonraker connector plugin, were like huge. So the things that I just summed up basically filled 5 weeks all in all. Plus, of course, the usual overhead accounting and tech stuff, and also the one or other bug fix and admin stuff and such. So, yeah, a very busy month with a very short summary. So that already brings us to the question, what are the next steps? So actually, this time next week, I'll be probably quite busy preparing and packing for Y 2025 in the Netherlands, or also known as What Hackers Yearn, which is the next event in this every 4 years hacker festival cycle of the Dutch community. I will be there from August 7th until the 12th. And the plan is, so I will not go there alone. I will also take my buddy Chris with me and also my partner. And the 3 of us will be deploying all 10 of our data gnomes again that my buddy Chris and I created originally 2 years ago for CCC Camp 23. So that will probably keep us quite busy, because at CCC Camp we basically had to run all over the campgrounds every single day to do some maintenance on the one or other gnome, swap batteries and such. But still, I think it's going to be once more a very fun thing, because last time, whenever we walked around with one of these gnomes under our arms and fetched them to swap batteries or whatnot, ton of interesting chats resulted out of that. And it was also really wholesome to see how people tried to find all 10 of them that we had deployed all across the campgrounds and such. And so the plan is to hopefully repeat that experience this time around in the Netherlands. And as always, I can say that if you see me running around there with or without a gnome, please just say hi. If you recognize me, I will probably not be able to recognize you. But I love shaking hands with users. And I have not planned a specific meetup, and I will probably also not do that yet because I really want to just focus on the whole data gnome deployment and experiencing the event otherwise. But should you also be there, then yeah, consider yourself invited to say hi. And I hopefully this time will also remember to bring some stickers. I forgot them at EuroPython, which was a real pity because I was asked for them. Yeah, and before that event, so the rest of my after hours this week and also the start of my vacation early next week before the event will be spent with data gnome stuff and prep work and such. But after the event, I will also still touch on some relaxing days at home, reading, gaming, and most importantly, not 3D printing. The thing is that I'm noticing that it is really, really time for a vacation. It's been a while since my last one. And as you can imagine, all of the work that I did, especially the past months, but also all of the refactoring work before that, the releases and all of that, the stuff the work that went into 1.11. And so that all of that costs a lot of energy and it's really time to recharge the batteries. But once that has been done, what I want to do and focus on is to actually finalize the Moonraker connector plugin. As I said, there are still some things missing, like custom controls for the macros, some better implementation or integration of the webcam stuff, and probably also hunting down some bugs. But overall, it's really almost there, which is a huge relief because my big goal was to finish this way earlier this year, and the longer that 1.11 took to get out and then get bug fixes out for it, I got really worried that all of this 1.11 work would take up too much time to still be able to finalize this and get this working in the time span that I envisioned for it. But it looks like that will work out fine. So that is really, really great. And together with finalizing this connector plugin, I will also do everything in my power to make the altcom branch that it is required to run it merged into the maintenance branch as soon as possible. So as I mentioned earlier, while I'm working on this connector plugin, I'm actually still finding a few bits and pieces here and there where the API still needs some tightening up or changing or refactoring, or where I just noticed that something is completely missing and I still need to implement it and such. For example, the temperature offset situation that I mentioned earlier, where I'm not able to change temperatures on the fly for prints that are running on Moonraker, means that I will need some way inside connectors to signal what kind of capabilities they have. Like, do they allow temperature offsets? I already have something like that for can I download a file or not from the printer storage? But because that basically means, am I able to actually visualize the G-code or not? If I cannot read the file, then I cannot visualize it. And the same thing is if I cannot set temperature offsets, then it probably doesn't make much sense to show the controls or to enable the controls in a UI either. So for that, I need to still build in some API endpoints. And there's probably some other stuff like that still hiding in the code as well that I need to take care of. But all in all, just like with the connector plugin itself, things are getting more and more stable. Tests are passing, which is a huge relief. The serial printing still works just as it did before. It just now is implemented through a connector. Accessing the SD cards stored on the printer through the serial interface also still accessing them doesn't work because that never worked, but I mean managing them and also starting print jobs for them also still works, but now through the storage that storage connection that I built into it. So yeah, I do expect that I will still need to do some refactoring before I can merge this, and maybe then also later after it is merged before it will be released in the shape of 1.12.0. But all in all, I'm very, very optimistic that this will work out fine in the end. And yeah, I'm still quite happy that this brief idea on how to basically put in a new layer into the communication layer that talks to the printer would allow me to finally achieve modular communication backends, which I had been trying to do for 10 years now in another way, which proved too disruptive to actually ever finish. So that now was something that I basically implemented in 1 or 2 weeks before Christmas, another 1 or 2 weeks in February or something, and now 1 or 2 weeks again, or 3 maybe, 2.5, something like that in July. And so for that, it is like amazing. Yeah. Another thing that I still need to do and that I hope to get around to when I'm back from my vacation / Y visit. I mentioned last time already that I still need to do this planned branch migration that I want to do, renaming the maintenance branch to next and renaming master to main and getting rid of devil and such. And yeah, so that also still needs to be done, but that has a lower prio than getting the outcom branch merged and the connector plugin finished. So as you might notice, I'm currently really, really focused very hard on both outcom and the connector plugin to finalize this. This also means that while there is now something else, another fix that is ready for the next bug fix release of 1.11, which will be 1.11.3. So while there is now something more in there prepared already, that is still something that I'm trying to push further down the timeline, as long as there is no big, ugly, really nasty bugs that I need to fix. And so far things are looking good. Because that will of course then cut time away again from all of this focus on 1.12 on actual development. And so I'm trying to balance things out a bit right now and leaning towards giving 1.12 priority. And yeah, I might be repeating myself here, but I really have to say that being able to finally fully focus on all of that stuff is absolutely amazing and something that I sorely missed. It was well overdue to be able to go all in with a development project like this again. And it has allowed me to finally work with a speed again that I feel good about, because usually I constantly have to task switch. I constantly have to juggle all different kinds of to-dos in all different kinds of parts of OctoPrint and OctoPrint's ecosystem. And that just means constant context switching that is extremely expensive and means it's forcing me to work at a slower pace than I usually could when I was able to just focus on something 100%. And now I finally have been able to do that again. And that tells me I really need to schedule more development sprints like that in the future, as they make a really, really huge impact. So yeah, expect something like that to happen more often, I hope, if I can somehow justify it with everything else that is going on. And that is actually already it. There is nothing more, I think, to talk about right now. The next one of these will be in late August or more likely early September, so that I actually have something more to talk about apart from why, which is probably going to be something that will be so much that I won't know what to talk about and so won't be able to talk about much, simply because I will spend 5 years in an overwhelmed mode. I'm really looking forward to that one. Camp 2023 was a really amazing experience, and even though the weather isn't looking right now like it will be similar to that one, so it won't be as hot and as maybe also not as sunny, but on the other end, and this time we have a huge tent in which I can stand, so no more crawling for this person. Getting too old for that. And also a place where we can sit. Us three can sit at a table with a tent roof above us and a tent flap that we can close as well, and still just sit around the table and solder or something else or play games or whatnot. Even if the world should be ending outside due to rain, yeah, things are looking really, really good, and I'm really looking forward to that. And with that being said, as always, thanks for being here. Hope it was interesting, albeit maybe a bit single topic this time, but important topic this time. Yeah, as always, stay healthy, happy printing, and of course, this time also have a nice summer. Bye bye.